I'm Dan, and this is 10,000 Hours of Indie, a podcast exploring new music and delving deeper into what goes on in the background of the independent music industry. I'm a musician and passionate music lover, and I wanted to delve deeper into new music in the independent scene around the world. I also saw this as a chance to help artists connect and share their stories, so if there's someone you hear and you want to find out more about, every podcast has links in the show description. Get involved, help this community grow, follow on the 10,000 Hours of Indie socials, you can find all the links in the show description. And also feel free to email me about anything music related, 10,000indie@gmail.com. I'm open to any ideas and love listening to your promos. The Wytches are a four-piece rock band formed in Peterborough but now based in Brighton. Members are Christian Bell, singer-songwriter, Daniel Rumsey on bass, Mark Breed, keyboards and guitars, Bhavin Thacker on drums. Already 15 years since their debut release, the band have released 7 EPs and have just released their 5th album, Talking Machine, which their labels say is a combination between huge pounding rockers fused with quieter moments of reflection. And I think it's great. Hi Christian, thanks for joining me on the pod.
Hey, how you doing?
All good. You're pretty busy at the moment because the band are on tour. How's it been going?
Yeah, really good. Yes, I think it's about 23 gigs altogether, and somehow not lost my voice yet, so I'm pretty happy about that.
And you're off to Europe just after the podcast comes out as well?
Yeah, on the 10th of November, I'm going over to Europe for a while.
You've done it before, haven't you? It's not your first time in Europe.
Yeah, we've done a big portion of Europe. The last time we toured Germany was about 11 years ago with Blood Red Shoes. So I don't think we've actually done any of our own gigs in Germany. So that would be interesting.
So there's always a date in a calendar that the band are most excited about for some reason. What is it on this tour for you?
To be honest, I just the whole European leg of the tour. I love just playing in Europe. I never go on holiday in my private life, so it kind of treat it like a bit of both. And it kind of helps you not start whinging about tour because you feel like you're on more than just a tour. And I hate whinging about tour anyway, but there's loads to whinge about.
So what is a hometown show for you? Is it Peterborough or Brighton?
I suppose it'd be Brighton. I mean, there really isn't much going on like the sort of modern kind of tour circuit. I feel like we started maybe like 5 years after Peterborough got eradicated from the sort of general tour circuit of the UK. So we have played there, but like not part of a tour where an agent has like pinpointed the Met Lounge, Peterborough or whatever, because it's just sort of like a tribute band venue these days, you know.
Well, I'm from Colchester originally.
Oh, wow.
And Colchester's one of those places that have bands when they're just on the rise and they come back again when they're just on the fall again, but never when they're at their peak.
That's so true of Peterborough, actually. Now and then you'll get like a really big name from the past, and then you realise like Electric Six recently played in Peterborough, and I think that was like the biggest non-tribute act that had been on for a while in Peterborough.
To be fair, though, their tour was massive.
Well, that's it. Like, if you can do that, then it's good to do. I mean, we actually had to like pull out dates from what was sort of suggested as the tour because, you know, we were never going to sell more than like 5 tickets in Grimsby or something, you know. So we ended up pulling a lot of it because you realise there are only, at a band our sort of size, there are only a few cities where it's like not going to waste the promoter's time, you know.
I've made a statement rather than a question here, but an observation of you having changed the spelling of your band name online originally to make yourselves more visible. Tell us about how you got the band name and why you felt you had to change the spelling.
I think I was really getting on this, wanting to do something that was a bit themed, yeah, because I just love garage rock music, and the sort of playful horror element kind of always really appealed to me in garage rock, and so many overly simple garage rock band names, the somethings, you know, and I just thought it's quick and easy and like unpretentious. And yeah, so we were just the Wytches, but then, you know, that was clearly too simple considering how many things are named after the Wytches. So we wanted to do a bit of like the Birds thing, just put a Y there instead. I see it in some bands now that there'll just be like a Y there. And it's easy to say, you know, oh, what's your band? It's the Wytches, but it's a Y instead of an I. I've probably said that about a million times in my life now. And I kind of feel like we are like the Wytches, you know. I feel like obviously there's been a million bands probably called the Wytches, but right now I feel like we're the Wytches, you know.
So the new album, tell us about the sort of themes and what you set out to make.
I think because we could finally record live again, because we had never really settled on like a live sort of studio band since our like second album. Just wanted to do something like that again. And then, I mean, I've been going on about the garage thing, but for a long time, I mean, this is our fifth album. And I'd say for like the previous three albums, we kind of didn't really lean on the garage sound that much. I kind of wanted to be a bit more ambitious. Basically, I started working at a record shop, and the owner of the shop's a guy called Ted Carroll, and he basically invented the psychobilly genre. He owned Ace Records, and they compiled so many garage rock 60s compilations that were specifically really sort of ramming in the idea that there was like really gnarly stuff in the 60s. And I just became really obsessed with that sound again. And I had been about 10 years ago. And then starting working for him, I just became really inspired by that sound again. And because we had this band that could do it live again in the studio, it just made sense to do something like that, groovy and 60s garage, you know, that. But then obviously the second half of the album kind of goes back to our more current thing, which is just inspired by anything that we're inspired by, you know. It's but the first half of it is very much supposed to be like just a pumping garage rock thing.
Was the whole album recorded as a live thing?
Yeah, it was. Even the sort of ones that aren't really like rock band sounding tracks, it was all done live. Some of them with the vocal as well. I wanted to try that because when a song's kind of new, the sort of like isolated vocal take can feel a bit awkward because a lot of the songs were like brand new. I just wanted to sort of compete with the music a bit and just do it in this natural way. So yeah, it was really live sounding album. Luke, who recorded it, Luke Oldfield, it's a small studio, but he has a stairwell with quite a tall ceiling, and I mixed the album, and probably about 50% of the mix is just a microphone in the corridor. You know, that's like really loud in the mix. You know, you listen to some albums and as soon as it hits, you're like, wow, that's really live sounding. I just wanted that kind of thing going on, like in Utero or something, you know.
I assume the album cover is the band playing a show somewhere. Where is that?
We have been rehearsing in the Yaxley Public Hall, which is like a village that me and Mark were brought up in. We don't live there anymore, but it's like 30 minutes from where we live now. And I record bands from there. We rehearse in there. We do music videos in there, but it wasn't available. And we really were struggling to find a picture for the album because we've never done like a picture of ourselves for an album. And we had done a photo shoot with Steve Gullick, the well-known, incredible sort of music photographer. And we'd known him since our first album and kind of connected with him because he's also from our area. He's from Huntingdon. He's sort of, I don't know, just felt like a connection with the guy. And we're real good friends with him. We did a photo shoot for like press shots and stuff. And then he heard the album and he just offered to like do another shoot for us just for the love of doing it. And we were like, well, we need an album cover. And the Yaxley Hall that we go to wasn't available. So we just booked another hall in Yaxley. There's about 10 of them in Yaxley, these random village halls. And he walked in the room and it's like kind of a modern looking hall as well. The one we usually go in was built in like the 20s. So it has a naturally quite a cool look in there. But this hall that we booked, I think it was built in like 2005 or something and just looked a bit like a very modern like school gym. He was like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to take a photo for an album cover in this room. But he did because he's clearly got such a strong vision. And it took him, 5 minutes just kind of squinting at the room a little bit. And then we just started taking photos. But then actually in the picture, there's a power supply that I took from the public hall, and it says property of Yaxley Public Hall. So we still got our public hall in the shop. Yeah, we've been going there for so long. It's like a real part of our band. It's just this random hall in a random village.
So how about your favourite track on the new album?
I like Is the World Too Old? That's my favourite one. I wrote it and demoed it while all my gear was like in a van waiting to go to the next thing or whatever. For some reason I didn't have any gear with me, and I wrote the song, and I was really happy with it, and I wanted to record it, so I just used whatever I had in my garage at the time, which was a bongo and a acoustic guitar and a bass. Oh, and my snare drum. So it's just like a sort of, I just did a metronome on the snare drum and added some bongos so it sounded more like a beat. And that's how we re-recorded it, just exactly like the demo. And I just quite like that it arrangement wise, it's like completely different to what we'd usually do. So I just have a fond memory of being really happy when I completed the demo for that one.
Coffin Nails, I would say, is probably my favourite, and it's got a very distinct Beatlesy riff going on in there.
Yeah, the second side of A Hard Day's Night is like a really great garage rock album. You know, there's Things We Said Today. I feel like there was a bit of a thing in garage rock, like every now and then, or in just like 60s pop rock at the time, you know, that there would be a little bit of like a Spanish influence in there. Mainly in like the sort of rolling drums and stuff. And yeah, that second side of A Hard Day's Night was a massive influence on me. And Coffin Nails was like one of those things where it's just try to have a real nice, simple chorus with simple lyrics like those like 60s tracks. I heard a song I'd never heard in a while. Well, I'd never heard it before. And it was by a sort of 60s band called Elite. And the song's called I'll Come to You. And I really wanted to cover it, and I couldn't find the lyrics or anything. So I started listening to it and writing them down, and they are the most like simple thing in the world. Yeah, it just kind of shows it doesn't need to always be like clever for it to be impactful. You know, that one was, yeah, I'm going to run and hide. Just a real Beatlesy kind of lyric.
Kerrang! Start their review of the new album. Talking Machine sounds like the inside of a dimly lit pub where the air constantly looks hazy and the floors are questionably sticky. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like that image.
But we've all played in those pubs.
Yeah. Maybe the floors aren't sticky, but the rest, yeah, it's smoky. We had a smoke machine in Edinburgh the other night, and we were all like, why don't we do that all the time? Because it was incredible, actually, just having a smoke machine. You can't see anything in front of you, and you're really like protected by the smoke. It was cool. Yeah, I get the smokiness.
You've changed labels quite a few times during your time as a band. Is that just due to circumstance, or what's the story behind that?
They just keep dropping us. I think people thought we were destined for bigger things. And yeah, like Heavenly and Partisan, they're like mega labels in terms of like the independent label thing. I mean, it's as simple as that. I just don't think we like pleased them enough with everything we did after the first album. I mean, but on our third album, we released it ourselves through our manager at the time, and that was Cable Code, which was a sort of imprint we just thought of. I ended up putting out a few friends' bands through it and stuff because there was a semi-established like label for a little while. So we did that, and then Alco Pop, you know, we'd sort of struggled a bit. Well, it was a fine release, the third one, but we thought it'd be, you know, go back to like the label route. And Alco Pop offered to do the things we wanted to do, which mainly was like manufacture the records, because the fans have always bought our records. So just takes a bit of the load off of us. I think there was a lot of hype at the time around us when we first started. And I feel like it became maybe like a little bit of a bidding war. And then the winning bidder kind of felt like they overpaid for what they got, if you know what I mean. That's how I see it. And it's fine because, you know, we're quite a harsh sounding band a lot of the time. And I can see why that's not like that marketable. But we've made it in our own little world, which is just like we have a cult following and we can put on a good show in quite a few places around the world. and make an album that people are happy with. And that's kind of success in our world.
And you've always stayed true to yourself and your sound as well. You haven't sold yourselves out for a label or anything as well.
I wouldn't even know how to sell out. I feel like I've tried to sell out and it still just comes across like too underground. Like trying to write a pop song and I don't know. I wouldn't even know how to sell out.
Moving on to social media, you seem to be most active on Instagram despite having way more followers on Facebook.
All those followers were from back in the Heavenly and Partisan days where they could like make you a star overnight. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we did all the like hardest touring you can imagine where we're like sleeping in the van and all that kind of thing. But it was very soon after that period that we started getting a push. And I mean, we just toured pretty much all year round for like the first 5 years of being on a label. And I think in those 5 years, Facebook was probably a bit more popular than Instagram. But like we'll post on Facebook, even though it's twice as many followers, it doesn't seem to reach as much. So we just do it all through Instagram. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of those people are from like the past, on Facebook at least.
So you've got a great video for the title track Talking Machine on YouTube, a hazy black and white old school thing. Who comes up with the ideas for your videos?
Basically, every video that isn't from this album is done by our guitar player, Mark. He's basically done all our videos. But I met a guy called Simon Hedges. I was session playing in a band and he was the session bassist. We got really close and he's an assistant director on films and stuff and a very talented cinema photographer. And he offered to do all the videos for this album. Mark did the video for World Too Old, which was shot on an iPhone, and a lot of Mark's videos are shot on an iPhone, and it's just his editing style that's really impressive, that you can turn that stuff quite cinematic. But yeah, Simon did Black Ice and Talking Machine. The idea was we were going to be like locked up in a boot of a car, and then because you see like just cars driving around. But we couldn't really, on like a zero budget video, we couldn't really get it to look like we were in a boot of a car. It's just us with like gnarly car crashes and stuff. That's also a bit of a social media thing is because we do have a bit of a following on YouTube, subscribers and stuff. So we just some kind of visualizer. But I mean, the video for Black Ice that Simon did, I think is incredible because he heard the song and thought it sounded like there was some kung fu going on in the song. So he mashed up some kung fu footage and I love that video.
You've also got some really good live videos on there as well. And I do notice you have a liking for the black and white aesthetic.
I think it's just easier to make something look cinematic on a low budget when you go in black and white. Because obviously editing the colors and stuff of a location that's not really that visually pleasing, just black and white and it looks better.
And also you've got some really nice band t-shirts available, I've noticed.
Yeah, so Sam Gull, he's another old friend of mine. He's done all our album covers. Obviously the photo for this one was Steve Gullick, but Sam did all the illustration that's involved in the titles and the inside and the back of the album. And then every other album cover he's illustrated. He's an incredible illustrator. And yeah, just like all his work just lends itself to like these snappy designs on t-shirts and stuff. So we've been working with him since the very beginning.
What do the band have planned after the European dates are finished? I mean, we're talking about sort of early 2026. Have you got some festivals already in the works for next year and things like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think festivals will come in where we've released it. It missed the festivals from this year. So yeah, I hope that we can do some next year. And then I think we're going to tour Europe again in April. Because I think it was supposed to be a much longer tour and in more countries, but we couldn't fit it into this tour. So yeah, we'll do that in April. And we're trying to go back to America because we went to America on the first album. I mean, it seems like we have a following there, but then it's such a huge place that's probably a few people in a massive place. So maybe not, but that's kind of the goal is to try and get back out there. yeah, I mean, we're also inspired by American music and stuff. It was surreal going out there the first time, like playing some of these venues you've seen in like 90s sort of live footage and stuff like that. It was really cool.
The reason I mentioned festivals is you strike me as the kind of band that would go down really well at a festival because, you've got that in-your-face style which drags people in even if they're just strolling past.
Yeah, that kind of happened at Latitude. We did Latitude this year, and I think we were sort of like one of the only kind of like rockin' bands on the bill. It was very like pop driven thing, and we were in quite a big tent, and that did happen. People were sort of just coming in because they were refreshed by hearing something a bit more in your face. Yeah, but yeah, we've always done good at festivals, but yeah, we haven't really done that many. Some European ones over the last 5 years or so, and they've gone down really well. And they're my favorite to do. The only problem I'm struggling on it a bit with this tour is that I'm really not I can't speak in between songs, and it's become really awkward sometimes, especially when you have like a real polite audience. So I do dread festivals in that sense where you got to hype up the crowd and stuff, but I feel like the music does all the talking.
So the final question, what music are you listening to at the moment that listeners of the podcast may not be aware of and should take some time to check out?
I've been listening to a lot of Billy Childish, who was in a band called The Milkshakes that did really inspire my songwriting for this album. And he's released as a sort of artist collaborating with various people. I think he's released something like 200 albums or something. And I just love his raw vibe. He's just like really raw sounding, heavily inspired by old time folk and old time blues. And there's an album called Blood in My Eyes, blood spelt BLUD. And it sounds like it was recorded in like the 30s or something. And I've really been loving that. And it's a mixture of traditionals and original songs, but they just kind of seamlessly blend, And then I've actually really been enjoying that new Mac DeMarco album, which I never really liked Mac DeMarco's music. And suddenly I heard this one and I really love it. It's very like stylistically different. It's like not got any of the like synths and stuff that he's known for. And yeah, I really liked it. It just shows that he's just like a really good songwriter. Yeah.
So for anyone wishing to find out more about the Wytches, you're on Instagram, Facebook and Bandcamp.
Yeah, and YouTube, watch us rock out.
Cool. Well, the Wytches' latest album, Talking Machine, is out now on Alcopop Records, both physically and across streaming platforms. Christian, thanks for joining me on the podcast and good luck with the rest of the tour.
Cool. Thank you, Daniel.